Hello, this is a special look at your FPB cable system. I'm Glenn Waldrop, and I'm joined by two men from FPB Cable, John Higginbotham and Harvey. Guys, thank you for coming in.
Hey, Glenn.
Glad to be here.
Gentlemen, FPB's making some changes, and we're reorganizing our cable lineup. And I guess the first question, and John, I'll present it to you, and you and Harvey can handle how these get answered, but the first question is the most obvious. Why and when are we making changes to our cable lineup?
Well, the when's real easy. We're gonna have an outage starting at about 12 a.m. On Tuesday, August 20th, and it'll run to about 6 o'clock. Maybe a little shorter, but we're gonna try and stay within that 6-hour window. And so our customers every video customer we have is gonna be affected. And so they may not have any cable TV over that whole time period, but that's when we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it from 12 to 6 a.m. on Tuesday, the 20th. The why? There's a lot of reasons for the reason why. There are some technical and security reasons why we want to do this to better safeguard how we deliver video to our customers. But also, we're adding some programming, or we've been asked to add some programming, and we just don't have any holes in our lineup in which to put that in. And that's something that Harvey's really worked on pretty hard over the last few months to try and find reasonable moves on our cable system to accommodate all these channels.
Over the years, we've added multiple channels through contract negotiations and stipulations.
Right.
There are certain places that networks have to go within our classic cable lineup. Harvey, taking that into consideration, and some of these changes are due to that, as you said, there's a multitude of reasons. But what was sort of the thought process behind the new organization of how we were going to line up these channels and where?
Well, we had, the first part of the channel lineup was in pretty good order as far as grouping like networks together. But as you got a little later in the lineup, channel 65 and on, you got a little disjointed as we had to keep adding these networks. So we're sort of resetting it, and we're going to be grouping all these networks with like networks, sports networks with sports networks, news, entertainment, children's programming. We're going to keep all those so that those type channels are going to be next to similar channels in the lineup. And I think hopefully the customers, it's a positive experience for them. We're really excited about presenting it to them.
Once the newness wears off and people are sort of accustomed to where these networks now are, it will be a better viewing experience, and that was the goal behind, I think, once the decision was made to make the adjustment.
Right. Yeah. These networks compete against each other, like networks, and in the sports is a good example of that. Yeah, Fox Sports 1 and ESPN are competitors, but they really like being next to each other because it's easier for the customer to find all the sports programming. Same with news and entertainment and information. So they may be competitors, but they like being in groupings together.
It may seem like it that we've just recently done this change, or in the last few years, but it's actually been a while since we made a change to our lineup, is it not?
Yeah, it's been almost 8 years since we made the wholesale change. I think we changed 40 out of 60-some channels. And we've added another 20-some channels since then. And so, like Harvey said, you get beyond channel 65 AMC, and it's kind of a mess, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And so we're just gonna do it in a way that we promise not to do it again for a long time. How's that?
And he's not crossing his fingers.
I kind of am, but we promise not to do it for a while.
In this new lineup, Harvey, something that might be a little confusing to customers is they will see that it's not going to be completely sequential. There are going to be some gaps in the numbering. Can you talk about why there will be a few gaps?
Well, I mean, that's sort of future-proofing, like John said. I mean, we're leaving holes, spaces for future editions, networks that maybe don't exist, but we will be required to carry in the future, leaving space between these genres so that we can add children's programming in this slot or sports programming in that slot, and so no guarantees, but that's the plan, is that we leave some space for future editions.
And one of the things you mentioned, and we won't get real deep into this, but just briefly, a lot of these networks through negotiations of contracts, they stipulate where they have to go in a lineup. Can we just touch on that briefly so people get a real understanding of what we're talking about when we say that?
Yeah, I mean, without getting into details, I mean, certain networks require that they be in below a certain number in the channel lineup, and obviously we have to comply, as we agree to those agreements. So,
customers that have a DTA or an advanced set top, What do they need to do in order to make sure that they've got these new channels and the new reorganized lineup?
It should be a pretty. I mean, obviously that the maintenance window from midnight to approximately 6 a.m. Watching TV might be kind of tough. So, but once we're finished, hopefully by 6, advanced set tops, DTAs, it should be automatically updated. The worst case scenario on an advanced set top, you might have to channel up if you've kind of gotten frozen picture. But then it should then it should be fine. A DTA, if it gets kind of locked up, you may need to unplug it and plug it back in, and then it should be fine.
So those customers, if you have a box issued by the Frankfurt Plant Board, whether it's one of the big ones with DVRs, HD, whatever it may be, or the small DTA boxes, if you have those, you should be good. You might have to recycle, as you said, but you won't have to do anything in order to receive the new channels and the new lineup. So moving forward, for those customers that don't have a set top from FPB or a DTA and they're getting their cable basically straight out of the wall into their television, they will have to rescan. Can you talk about that briefly?
Right. Yeah, they'll have to, if they receive their cable through a QAM tuner on their television set, they'll have to do a rescan so that their TV can learn the new channel lineup. And hopefully our customers have been through this a few times and they're familiar with the settings on their television. If they're not, I highly recommend pulling out the manual. Hopefully you saved it. If you haven't, find the model and Google it and find the manual online, because it's usually a pretty simple process, but each television's a little bit different, but it's most likely it'll say, antenna rescan or digital cable rescan, and that's the command you're looking for. A
couple other quick questions, just got about 3 minutes. There are multiple lines of service. We've only talked about cable. Are any other channels changing tiers?
No, and we're adding a couple of channels to limited cable. Antenna TV and Me TV, there were 79 and 81, are moving down to 28 and 29.
Correct.
And so those folks that are just limited cable customers, they'll have 2 new channels on the limited cable lineup. We're adding a few networks on preferred cable. IFC, just real quickly, IFC, the tennis channel is already launched on 151, IFC on 116, Access TV on 611, that'll be HD only, and then 2 additions on our HD Plus tier, HD Net Movies on 777 and Escapes on 778. So all this will be happening on the 20th, these additions.
One other quick change that we've talked about already once, back on August 1st, Speed Network moved down to Classic. And then Speed will then become Fox Sports 1. And I know, John, that's going to change in programming a little bit.
It is. And it's been, as Speed, it's been primarily motorsports. But as you've seen the promos, if you watch any Fox Sports programming over the last month, you've seen the commercials. And they're going to have a little bit of everything on there. So it's not just going to be NASCAR. It's going to be baseball, football, basketball. Like I said, it truly will be a sports network like some of the other sports networks that we have. So customers should look for that.
We want to remind customers, too, that the new website design, fpb.cc, go over there. All this information's there. It's a great resource, a great tool for you as a customer to get all the information you need in one location, fpb.cc. And, guys, again, the dates and times of this window where these changes will take place.
Midnight to 6 a.m. on Tuesday, August 20th. Don't do anything. Don't rescan your TV. Don't really mess with anything until after 6 o'clock a.m. because you would have to do it again. So just wait for us to get all of our work done and start learning the new channel lineup just like everybody else in town. So I think it'll work out pretty well. And
guys, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And again, that's midnight to 6 a.m. on the 20th. After 6 a.m., if you have a QAM tuner, please rescan. For all this information, go to fpb.cc, check all that out, and stay tuned with FPB Cable.